In 2024, Hatsune Miku graced Pokemon with her presence in the form of Project Voltage, a collab that reshaped my life and made me get infinitely more into Vocaloid than I already was. But even more than that, it introduced the Hatsune Miku Pokemon trainers of each type. 16 trainers with 16 different Pokemon representative of their respective types. And so like any sane human being, I had one thought. Can I beat PokeRogue with just these 16 Pokemon? And so I present to you the Miku Lock. A Nuzlocke that can technically be applied to any Pokemon game in recent years, but you will be handicapped by at least 4 or 5 Pokemon. However, in PokeRogue that is not the case. Every single Pokemon is available, so my best chance of victory lies in PokeRogue. And so I set off with a singular goal in mind. Can I beat PokeRogue with only Hatsune Miku approved Pokemon? To add some context, I beat PokeRogue back when everyone and their dog was playing it. However, it's changed a lot since then. They've added new random events, evil teams, passive abilities, and so much more. I had no idea about any of this going into the run though. I just plunged into it deep with a dream and a hope in my heart. For my initial lineup, there are some very clear winners here. Not all 16 Pokemon are the strongest soldiers out there, however, there are plenty of good candidates. Fuecoco scales well as a sweeper, Meloetta is a mythical Pokemon, Popplio is good bulk, and Miraidon is one of the strongest Pokemon ever created. However, every PokeRogue comes with a run cost of 10 points, which you can use to make up your starting team. Every Pokemon has their own cost, so a Pokemon like Meloetta takes up 6 of your 10 slots, which really only leaves space for one more Pokemon. I opted for Fuecoco since he pairs decently well without sharing too many of the same weaknesses as Meloetta, and with that, our descent into hell begins. The first 8 floors go swimmingly as there's nothing that can't be one-shot here. The first important battle is on floor 8 where we battle our rival Ivy. Our starter choice can make or break a run since it will always be the same from the first floor until the last. Thankfully for our first run she is Snipey, which for Fuecoco is not much of a challenge. For other staple Pokemon, the Route 1 bird of the various games this time is Rookidee, which also makes life easy for Fuecoco down the road since that's 2 Pokemon that can fall quite easily to a Torch Song. The first Ivy fight is a breeze and we're off for smooth sailing until our second bout with her on floor 25. In that meantime, Fuecoco evolves into Crocalure, and soon enough we're faced with her again, and her Servine this time, who falls very quickly to Incinerate. Corvisquire comes out and is swiftly dealt with after proccing my Revival Seed from Fuecoco. And with the second battle, Ivy adds another member to her team. The pool for this one is all the single stage Pokemon above 450 BST. This pool does have some scary Pokemon like Dracovish, but not to worry, this time she is a Pinsir. Fuecoco smiles with glee as he gets to fight half a team that will die to Torch Song. Unsurprisingly, Pinsir falls quickly to an Incinerate, and our path continues forward to the first gym leader. Unfortunately for us, since we didn't have a gym leader battle on floor 20, we have one only 5 floors after Ivy. And the other element of fear in me is that any one of the gym leaders from every single mainline Pokemon game can appear. From Kanto to Paldea, any of them could show up to face me at any given time. Admittedly, you can path this to try to make life easier for yourself. However, in order to do so requires sacrificing most encounters for the run. Because you see, with only 16 Pokemon to work with, there are only a handful of routes that are even viable to have a chance to catch a Pokemon to add to the team. And ultimately, it's a touch impossible to beat PokeRogue with just 2 Pokemon. However, in this run I was sent on the Metropolis path, which can eventually lead to a couple of encounters, but that chance is still several floors away. After a brief reprieve from Ivy, we are finally face to face with our first gym leader of the run, Larry, and his normal type Pokemon. He leads off with Kamala, who puts up a bit of a fight, but Meloetta is able to wear him down until he falls. Next up is Stravia, who quickly falls to a random encounter TM for Dazzling Gleam and a quick attack combo. And lastly, Dunsparce arrives and promptly falls to 2 Dazzling Gleams for Meloetta as well. It's 1 gym leader down, but this is only the beginning of the journey. 5 floors later, and we encounter our first hurdle of the run in the random evil team. There are some winners for this lineup like Team Rocket or Team Galactic and their poison types. However, we run into a moderate threat of a team in Team Aqua. The water types hammer my team because it leaves me with basically 1 usable Pokemon. The first grunt leads with Spheal, who falls to 2 moves, and Ludicolo, who falls to 3. Honestly, besides being able to use Fuecoco, things aren't that bad so far. Meloetta can still navigate the teams relatively well. It is a mythical Pokemon after all. The first grunt is defeated and we move on towards floor 47. Crocalure finally evolves into Skeledirge, and with that, Torch Song Gaming is now online to make my life so much easier. And then fast forward again to floor 55 where we encounter Ivy for another battle. This battle with Ivy starts with the fully evolved Superior who barely survives a Torch Song before switching out to the newly added Dragonair who falls victim to Skeledirge, lining up Torch Songs until he's unstoppable. And sure enough, Skeledirge can Torch Song Corviknight and Dually Oblivion, and then Pinsir, and then Superior, and we're swiftly on our way. I love using Skeledirge because of situations like these. He just spirals so quickly. If you give him a moment, he's running off to the races to make quick work of everything else. But our race is stopped 5 floors later by our second gym battle against Clement and his electric types. Clement leads with Toxtricity but promptly switches out to Heliolisk and then to Emolga. This is where the Torch Song gaming would commence, but unfortunately I didn't actually know how the gym battles worked until I was writing the script for this video, so he was still paralyzed and suffering 2 turns from being fully parried before he could finally use Torch Song, and then it makes quick work of Emolga. However, Heliolisk has other plans and full switches Skeledirge to death, so Meloetta takes the stage and has a take on the world. Thankfully, Meloetta learned Quiver Dance from a random item event and is able to set up and sweep Magnezone, Heliolisk, and Toxtricity. Even with one Pokemon, I'm not out of the game yet. With 2 setup Pokemon, life is good, and as long as they can get going, nothing can really stop me. However, 2 floors later, and on floor 62, we run into Team Aqua again, and meet our worst enemy, Sharpedo. Of the Pokemon pool for Team Aqua, Sharpedo is our worst case scenario considering it can deal strong super effective damage to both Skeledirge and Meloetta. Our only saving grace is that Meloetta has Dazzling Gleam, which keeps the beast at bay for this time. Wailord comes out and gives Meloetta the perfect opportunity to set up an Oko with a +1 Dazzling Gleam, and then a +1 Psybeam to finish off Tentacruel. But what you'll notice here is that the battle happened on floor 62, and as I would learn, 2 floors later, another Aqua Grunt arrives. This time they lead with Lantern, who lets Meloetta set up a bit before switching to another key villain of Team Aqua, Crawdaunt. It's basically just the same thing as Sharpedo. He's Water Dark and can hit both my Pokemon for super effective damage. However, the Meloetta that's all boosted uses a Dazzling Gleam and it falls. And then Lantern and Tentacruel follow suit. But with that trainer, we aren't out of the woods just yet. 2 more floors later has a much stronger foe arrive in Team Aqua admin Shelly. She leaves with Quagsire but promptly swaps out to Sharpedo. Thankfully I figured this would be the case, so I set up a Quiver Dance and Dazzling Gleam Sharpedo into the Oblivion before using the next few turns to set up Quiver Dances while Quagsire just sits there and does nothing. A boosted Psybeam knocks out Quagsire, Huntail, Lantern, and Lanoon. Another potentially scary situation avoided because Meloetta got all boosted up and swept everything before it got too crazy. Thankfully we reach floor 70 and don't see any more of Team Aqua, so I think we're out of the woods for now. Floor 70 comes, and then floor 80 follows suit. However, after we beat floor 80, the map I acquired gives me a chance to go down one of 3 paths. I can go to either the grassy field biome, the metropolis biome, or the lake biome. Allow me to take a step back and do some fun little PokeRogue encounter education. So how PokeRogue works is certain biomes are connected together. On its surface, none of these biomes are ideal for me because none of them have any Pokemon that I can catch. However, as I go to their connected biomes, my encounters suddenly become non-zero chances. The grassy fields leads to tall grass, which has a chance for Kricketune. Metropolis leads into the slums, which has both Toxtricity and Obstagoon as rare encounters. And lastly, the lake leads into Beach, which can lead into the sea, which has a chance for Primarina and Lapras as rare encounters. So really the choice is between Metropolis and Lake, and I opt for Lake because I'm putting my faith in Meloetta to carry me through. Most of the floor goes smoothly until we reach 490 and run into Crusher Wake as our 3rd gym leader. He leads off with Quillfish, but promptly switches out to Empoleon when faced with Meloetta. I use the opportunity to set up with Meloetta, as Empoleon can't really do any major damage, and then decide to take care of Meloetta's new move, Relic Song, to start changing forms. However, this is hampered a bit by Basculegion being switched in, but 1 Psychic later and Basculegion falls, and the weakened Empoleon follows suit soon after. Meloetta brushes death with a Blizzard from Gyarados, but the boosted Relic Songs are more than enough to swiftly deal with Gyarados, Floatzel, and Quillfish to send us promptly on our way to floor 100. But before we get there, we have one more Ivy battle to go through. She starts talking all strange, but still leads with the same ult superior. We both pivot out with my option being Skeledirge and Ivy upping for Corviknight. She switches out once more into Kingdra, who eats a free Torch Song and then a boosted Egg move Alluring Voice to finish them off. Admittedly, I have some of the Egg moves for the approved Pokemon, but not on any of the important ones at this point. After Kingdra comes a new entry in Ursaluna, who poses a bit of a threat by tanking an Alluring Voice, but Blaze boosted Torch Song takes care of Ursaluna and then finishes off Corviknight, Pinsir, and Serperior. Another Ivy battle in the books, as she keeps being weird to us, but we move swiftly onward towards floor 100. Surely this will be a big milestone floor, like there's some big battle to mark getting halfway there. Floor 101 takes us into the sea in the hopes of finding either a Lapras or a Primarina. And on floor 102, you're greeted by a unique surprise. Not 1, but 2 Lapras. Skeledirge falls, we're able to catch one of the Laprases. And it's here that I have to explain another rule, which is that I don't have Dupes Clause enacted in the Miku lock because I can only use 16 Pokemon total. If I want 4 Laprases on my team, no one can stop me. Fortunately, that won't be the case right now. But I've also chosen to keep Shiny Claws because why not? I want to catch a shiny Pokemon, I like them. Hatsune Miku would definitely love a shiny Pokemon, and I would very much like to have more than 16 Pokemon I can use. I will unfortunately never get that many Pokemon, however luck turns my way and on floor 107 blesses me with a Primarina. This is the ideal way these routes can go for me. I quickly catch her and rejoice as my team is doubled in size, because as a reminder, we went 100 floors with only 2 Pokemon on my team. The rest of the floor is uneventful, what I'd call 2 more team members a pretty successful 10 floors. I move onward towards the ice cave, and unbeknownst to me, I've entered another Team Aqua gauntlet. Floor 112 puts my 2 worst enemies staring me down, Meloetta and Skeldurge versus Crawdon and Sharpedo. Dazzling Gleam puts in double the work, and I think to switch to Primarina before looking at her moveset. Thankfully, one Dazzling Gleam is enough to put both Crawdon and Sharpedo to bed, but this double battle isn't over yet. Another Sharpedo arrives alongside Quagsire. Dazzling Gleam does its job again for Sharpedo, as Skeldurge Shadow Balls Quagsire to low health. Crawdon is up next, and then Dazzling Gleam does the same thing one more time. It's our first bout done, and as a gift, we're gifted another Lapras, because they are yet again a rare encounter here, which I didn't know at the time, but was very happy to see. The second Lapras joins the team, thus giving me almost a full 6 party members. Our celebration is short-lived though, as Team Aqua admin Shelly returns. She leaks Quagsire once again against my Meloetta, and I run it back the same way as last time. Quiver Dance while she switches into Sharpedo, and then spamming Dazzling Gleam as she sends not 1 but 2 Sharpedos to die. Quagsire is back, so I do a little more setting up before launching a Psychic to beat Quagsire. Woribus comes out and is promptly outcooked by Psychic. Lantern falls victim to the same hate, but this time it's a critical hit. And lastly, Linoone dies to a Psychic, and we're swiftly on our way. Surely that's the last of it. Oh, okay, I guess there's not breaks on this strain. Archie leads with Linoone, but switches out to Mega Sharpedo, who tanks a Dazzling Gleam, but for some reason doesn't use a Dark-type move on Meloetta. He uses Blizzard, and Meloetta is able to make swift work of Mega Sharpedo before it can become a problem. However, her next Pokemon is a Alolan Muck, who causes quite a bit of a problem for this team. Poison and Dark is a good typing, especially for my team where 2 of them are weak to Dark types and 1 is weak to Poison types. I switch into Skeldurge because I figured Torch Song is my best play, but unfortunately it only does some minor chip damage before Skeldurge falls. I send out Lapras number 1 to start gambling. You see, both Lapras are equipped with the fun 30% accurate move Sheer Cold, so I'm getting it twisted and praying for a hit, and sure enough, Tentacruel falls victim to gambling. Wailord is up next, and the roulette wins once again. Linoone comes out, but unfortunately knows Dig, so it stalls out the last Sheer Cold for... But thankfully Lapras does another move, and after 2 Brines and some double-edged recoil, defeats Linoone. Alolan Muck returns to the field, and I just keep spanning Brine. Lapras manages to fire foul play with 2 HP and is able to deal the finishing blow to Muck. And last but not least, there's Crobat. And I decided to make use of my other Lapras with 5 more Sheer Colds waiting in the wings because gambling is fun and I'm about to get it real twisted. I only need 1 to kill Crobat and end Archie's career for now. In hindsight, this is a crazy battle that almost certainly should have ended my run. But gambling on Moko moves is cool and fun, and so we keep going forward. But these 10 floors aren't quite finished yet. We still have to fight the Ice Gym Leader Price. The gym battle goes about as you would expect. Skeldurge sets up a Torch Song and then makes quick work of Dugong, Arctovich, Walrein, and Vanillux. For his slow speed and lack of quick claw rocks come to bite him. 4 out of 6 Pokemon is more than enough for me though. Lapras number 1 comes out and spams Brine because I'm all out of Sheer Cold PP from Archie. However, that prolonged battle also used up most of Brine's PP, so once again, I hit a Confuse Ray and go into Lapras number 2, who whittles away Weavile until it faints from a Hydro Pump. Lapras number 2 falls, and Lapras number 1 comes out to die a meaningless death before Primarina comes out to launch a Hydro Pump to end our battle with Price and allow me to continue onwards. After clearing floor 121, we're greeted with a very special item, the DNA Splicers. For those confused, this item fuses 2 Pokemon by averaging their base stats, combining their movesets, and taking the first type of the first Pokemon and the second type of the second Pokemon alongside the second Pokemon's ability. There is more nuance here, but those are the main ones to worry about right now. I opt to fuse Skeldurge and Primarina to create Skemarina, the Fire Fairy type Pokemon. Objectively, this is a questionable play because it sacrifices a team member for a questionable increase in power, but if you ask me why I did it, it was purely because I didn't beat my first run with any Splice Pokemon, and I wanted to do it this time. I was never going to turn it down, even if it meant I just had 1 Pokemon. After that, nothing of importance happens until we reach floor 145, which is our next Ivy battle. She leads with her Superior against my Meloetta. We repeat the last round, setting out the exact same Pokemon, my Skemarina and her Corviknight. However, Corviknight stays in this time, and each of a Torch Song that doesn't kill it, but the recoil from Brave Bird does. First Luna comes out, and 2 alluring voices are enough to finish the job after a hefty headlong rush to the face. Kingdra returns to eat a boosted alluring voice and its untimely demise. Pinsir comes out and dies to Torch Song yet again. Superior fares much the same, but it takes 2 of them because now Ivy gets to cheat with Superior's passive ability Multiscale. I will save my thoughts on the passive abilities because I only know a few, but they are ones that always seem to make fighting the Pokemon that much harder, but are also very nice when they're in my hands. AKA, it's nice when I get the good toys, but not when the villains have them. Anyways, Ivy decided to unveil that she has a shiny Rayquaza hiding in her pocket, who skydrops Skemarina to death, and then drops Lapras, but in exchange loses 2 chunks of its health to an Ice Beam from Lapras number 1. Rayquaza Retaliates with Thunder to knock out Lapras number 1, but unfortunately for Ivy, I have another one in the back who also knows Ice Beam. And with that, Ivy is bested once again, and I'm swiftly on my way to my gym battle with Ramos on floor 150. He leads with Venusaur against my Meloetta, but fearing a Psychic, he switches into the Grass Wormadam, who loses a good chunk of their life to said Psychic. I switch into Scamarina to click Torch Song several times, but not before Wormadam switches into Victory Bell, who falls to a single unboosted Torch Song. Venusaur comes out and tries to bulldoze Harshin damage, but Torch Song time is already active and makes quick work of Venusaur, Jumpluff, Go-Go, Breloom, and Wormadam. I do love a nice and easy grass gym battle. The next 14 floors are all fine and dandy until we get jump scared by Archie in the middle of the desert. Why was he in the desert? I have no idea, but I guess it's time to fight him unprepared, because why would I expect to fight the ocean guy in the desert? It starts raining and play arrives, and I quickly switch into Lapras number 1 and then Lapras number 2 to take care of its water absorbability and also to gamble. Surely I can win the same as I did last time. Okay, let's try and play this honestly. I try and play on him a bit before he switches out for Politoed, and I see another potential gambling victim, and this time I hit it big and OHKO that Politoed. Mega Sharpedo comes out and unfortunately misses another Sheer Cold and eats a Sheer Force Stab Crunch and learn a terrible truth about OHKO moves in PokeRogue.
Maybe I'll take it all! NANI?
Let me tell you folks, this is some bullshit. This stupidity puts me in a very bad position because Mega Sharpedo has the chance to set up and proceeds to kill Lapras number 2. Meloetta takes the stage and thankfully continues the Dazzling Gleam kill streak on Sharpedo. However, there was a new bane to our existence in Overquill. My best option here is to gamble, and unfortunately, we lose it all. And that, kids, is why you should never gamble, especially not in Pokemon. For every time you hit it big, you will lose it all so many more times. Don't get it twisted, gambling will ruin your life. No, I'm just kidding, it's because Archie had a Kyogre that swept the rest of my team because it's a Kyogre with Bouncy Bubble, a Water-type Leech Life that is exclusive to the Eevee and Let's Go Eevee. Like, yeah, sure, why not, that's fine with me. However, at the end of it all, the slots gave me one thing. Hope that this challenge can be beaten with only Hatsune Miku approved Pokemon. However, we're gonna need to give some Pokemon some upgrades before we try it again. Because I will beat PokeRogue with only Pokemon Hatsune Miku would approve of.